Okay, this is a video for anyone who was gone the day that we talked about the interview questions. If you haven't looked at the interview speech assignment, I would highly recommend that you do that. It's going to have some details on you for you that is going to help you get through these. Interview speeches are going to start December 13th. That's going to be really important. So let's get started. These are questions that you might be asked during your interview speech. If you look on this, the two questions that are in red, dark red, are two questions that you will be asked. Guaranteed 100% you will be asked these. There are also there's 7 questions in bold. I will pick any 2 that I want of the bold questions, and I will ask you 2 of those. And we're going to go through and we're going to talk about how to answer some of these questions. So the 2 questions you will be asked: why do you want to work for this company? The way to answer that is look at the interview assignment where it talks about researching your company. You want to find specific things about the company that you're interviewing for that you think are great or wonderful, or basically show me that you did some research on the company. Because honestly, especially if the job is competitive, if you don't do your research, they're going to hire the person who did, because there will be somebody who did. When I interviewed for Urbandale, I made sure I knew what the computer student ratio was. I made sure I knew that they had just passed a bond issue with 79% of the people voting yes to build the glorious high school we are in right now. And I made sure to mention that during the interview, say I love a school with a lot of community involvement and community support. And they liked that because they knew I was interested. So that's the first one. What is your biggest weakness is the second question that I will be asking you. Ways to not answer this question. Anything that is a personality flaw. I am bossy, I am too loud, I am constantly tardy, I have a temper, I don't get along well with others all the time, That is not how you want to answer the question. You also don't want to question with something that you think is going to be a benefit to you, like I am too organized, or I am a perfectionist, or something like that, because sometimes a lot of bosses think this way. Someone who is a extreme perfectionist can get annoying and can tend to be a problem. What they're looking for in this particular question is, can you identify a weakness that you have and can you work on it? I would suggest talking about a skill that you want to work on and how you've already started working on it. For example, I might say, I really wish, like this year, I'm using Canvas for the first time. I would say I'm using Canvas for the first time and I'm not great at it yet. And so I'm watching videos, I'm taking training so that I can get better and I can improve. Something like that would be a good thing. I am not as knowledgeable as I want to be on this, and this is what I've done to start to fix it. That would be a great way, because then it shows that you can identify a weakness that you have, because we all have weaknesses, and you can also work on a weakness to make it better or make it a strength. The last thing you should never do is say, I don't have a weakness. Give me a break. Everyone has a weakness. I do, you do, we all do. So don't say that, and it makes you look less self-aware, and it's going to make you look bad. So tell me about yourself. This is the first question that I might be able to ask you. The first thing I would say is make sure it is business related or job related. Do not talk about your puppies necessarily. Do not talk about your rock polishing kit. Talk about things that you've done that are business related. You don't necessarily have to talk about your family. In fact, that would be an illegal question for them to ask. But basically, degrees you've held, experiences that you've had that relate to the job. That is important. What are your strengths? This is the time to toot your own horn a little bit. And this is also the time to talk about personality traits that you have that you feel are strengths. I work well with others. I am a team player. I really like to get my work done thoroughly. I want to make sure that I give value to the company by making sure my work is as good as I can make it. I'm a hard worker. Things like that. those are all great strengths to have. If you have a specific strength in a knowledge area, let them know that. I'm really good at this particular program. Those are all great strengths. Where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years? You do not want to say in your job. That makes you look competitive, that makes you look kind of arrogant, and that makes you look a little cutthroat. What you want to do is you want to say, here are goals, professional goals that I have. Here are things I want to do in the future related to the profession. If there's a specific degree you want to get or more certifications you want to receive and work for, that's a great time to talk about it. A lot of teachers, when they start out, they want to get their master's degrees. And that's a good thing to say. If you're going to go into nursing, you want to get this certification, or you want to learn how to do this. You want to move into a leadership role, something. Show the person who is interviewing you that you have professional goals rather than, I just want to work here. You also don't want to mention that you want to work in a different company. That's not good. Why did you leave your current company? What you do not want to do is say, my boss was a jerk. You don't want to say that. It may be true, but you still don't want to say that. One reason is it makes you look bad. And two, they might know your boss. If you work in a specific field, a lot of people in that field know each other. I know teachers who work at almost every single high school in the city of Des Moines. Okay, so you need to be really careful. What you want to say is something like, I would like more challenges. If the company has a specific benefit, like a going back to school benefit, you might mention that. Say you were happy in your current job, but you really want to find some new challenges, and I feel that, I can be pushed here at this new company. That's important. Why is there a gap in your employment between this date and this date? You really don't want to have major gaps in your employment. Like, it kind of says, I lived in my mom's basement for a year because I wasn't working. You can also say, I worked at Starbucks for 6 months while I was looking for a job. There's nothing wrong with, I would also say if you have a situation like that, take a class, do some volunteer work, get a part-time job where you are doing something. You don't want to spend 2 years, we don't know where you were, because that can be a problem. What can you offer us that someone else cannot? This is a question that sometimes you'll see, and be honest. I had a master's degree. That's one of the reasons why I was hired here at Urbandale. What are some things that make you unique, make you a good fit for this job that someone else might not have? And you don't know the other candidates, so you might this is another time to toot your own horn a little bit. Are you willing to travel? They might ask you, are you willing to travel? Are you willing to relocate? Are you willing to take a pay cut? Are you willing to work in a lower position and work your way up? In these situations, I would say definitely be honest. If you're not willing to relocate to Alaska, don't take the job, because then it becomes very awkward. They get mad, and you might lose your job, quite frankly. Tell me about accomplishment you are most proud of. This doesn't, especially if you were first starting out, it doesn't necessarily have to directly relate to your profession. For example, when I interviewed somebody who worked at Wells Fargo, he said he had climbed a specific mountain. I don't remember what the mountain was, and he talked about how he worked on it for a year and a half, and it was a long-term goal that he had. And it didn't really say anything about his job skills, but it said a lot about his personality, how he was a really hard worker and he was determined to reach a goal. And that's really cool. If you can find something having to do with the profession, then great. I was proud that I got my master's degree by the age of 22. That's very young to get a master's degree, and I was proud of that. I was proud that I got through college in 3 years because I worked really hard to get through college quickly. So those are things that you are proud of. You don't want to talk about, I'm proud that I adopted a dog from a rescue shelter or something, which you might be proud of it, but there's not really any relevance to your personality or anything. So that would not be something I would do. Tell me about a time you made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Do not sit there and say, I have not made any mistakes. Think about, they are looking for you to talk about a time when you made a mistake, you admitted it, and you made it right. How did you handle it? They want to know, how are you going to handle mistakes as they come up in the job? So, like one time I forgot to record a grade for a student, and they accidentally, on paper, failed the class, and they were going to have to take the class again. And the student comes up to me and asked me about it and was like, Longfellow, I thought you said I passed the class, which I did. And, the kid was really upset, and I felt really bad, and I said, I'm really sorry, Dennis. I didn't mean to do that, and I fixed it, and I talked to his counselor. I said, you don't have to worry about it. I will take care of it. And I did, and I took care of it that day. And I apologized to him for making him feel bad or making him feel stressed, because I should not be making my students feel stressed because of my mistakes. And everyone makes a mistake. It's okay to talk about it. You might not want to talk about how you lost like $5 million for your client. That would probably not be the best mistake to talk about. There you go. Tell me how you handled a difficult situation. It's the same exact thing with the mistake. Here's a difficult situation that I was put into, and I handled it in a mature manner, and I dealt with it and made the situation better or diffuse the situation. They're looking for somebody who can diffuse and handle bad situations. That's what that question is about. Why should we hire you? This is another toot your own horn type of thing. I will add value to your company. I think I can help you solve problems. Being really positive about that, excuse me, is a great idea. How would you deal with an angry or irate customer? That's going to be really different depending on what field you go into. If you're going into nursing, that's going to be a different answer than if you go into teaching, whether you go into customer service or whether you go into like a financial situation. So you would probably, if you're going into any of those types of situations, I would research especially how you would handle that based on your situation. What are your salary requirements? What I would definitely say is be realistic about what you need to survive. Do not take a job where you cannot pay your bills. I turned down a job for a teaching position that was going to offer me $24,000 a year in 2005, which wouldn't pay my bills. And I said, I'm really sorry. I can't live on that, and I apologize. And he was totally okay with it. But you also don't want to say, I want, $50,000 a year, and you're a part-time cashier at, I don't know, Michael's or something. You need to make sure that you do some research and make sure you know what the salary range approximately is. Who are our competitors? This works especially for business situations, retail situations. You need to know about your competitors. You need to know what they do, stuff like that, so that you are well-versed in the field. What was the last book you read for fun? They might ask you a question about what you do to keep yourself current in your field. It may not be a book. If you don't read, which some of you don't, that's fine. Talk about a podcast. Talk about a blog that you follow. Talk about a article that you read. And I would say if you don't read, at least follow something or have something to talk about so they don't think that you're not staying current. What questions haven't I asked you? This is a good one for if you want to say something and you have a particular perk that other people might not have. This is the time to say it. One person in my class said that they were bilingual, and definitely mention that in a job interview. Okay, if they haven't come up with it, say, hey, I can speak Bosnian, I can speak Spanish, I can speak German. That is important. Even if they don't have any German customers or anything, that is still important because they could utilize the asset that you have. The last one is, what questions do you have for me? You always want to make sure to go into a situation where you can ask an intelligent question about the situation, okay? You might ask questions like, what does a day look like? Okay, what if I was going into this, what would the day look like? What projects am I working on right now, etc. And you can research that. Questions, don't ask these questions. What's your cell phone policy? That just means you're going to be on your cell phone the whole time. When will I take time off? Does your company restrict or monitor internet usage? Assume the answer is yes, because they do. I know that Urbandale High School monitors my internet usage, and that's okay because it's their computer and it's their network, so it's all good. Do I need to take a drug test for the job? No, don't ask that. How can you get fired? No, don't ask that. Okay, these are basically just clueless types of things. If you want to know the answers to these questions, I would say ask for the employee handbook. Here are some questions employers cannot ask. Anything about where you live, or are you, what, tell me about your family. If you get a question like, tell me about your family, say something like, I don't feel that's relevant to the job, and I would like to focus on how I can serve your interests the best. Something like that. What year were you born? When did you graduate from high school? You do not have to reveal your age. You do have to say if you're over 18, but like if you're in your 50s, it can be harder to find work. My mom tried to find a new job at the age of 52, and she left a lot of things off of her resume so she looked younger, because honestly, if someone's 55 and they're looking for a job, the employer is going to look at them and say, you have about 5 or 7 years in you before you're going to retire, and they are not likely to hire you. That is illegal. Very illegal. Any religious question? Do you celebrate Christmas? Oh, we have a Christmas program. Are you interested in helping out with that? Yeah. They can't ask that question. Anything about family, children, are you pregnant? Can't ask that question. What are your plans for childcare? That's not any of their business at all. So you don't have to answer that question. What's your background? Where were you born? They can't ask you anything about your ethnicity. They cannot ask you if you have a disability. Even if they say it nice, like, oh, do you have any disabilities that we can help you with while you're on the job? They can't ask you that in an interview. They can talk to you about it a little bit after you've accepted the job, maybe, but you do not have to disclose that you have a disability. That is illegal. You can say that you have a disability. You can say you have 3 kids, but that is not something that they can legally ask you. Height, weight, family history of disease. When do you have any medical problems that we can help you accommodate? No, don't give those out, because they're not going to help you accommodate in most situations if they're asking an illegal question in an interview. If you have any questions about any of these, let me know. I'm sorry this went a little long, but this is something that is really important that you need to understand. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.